sometimes I'm trying it. Like, that's just the truth, right? Like, in a relationship where you guys are together all the time, it's not always going to be the other person. Sometimes it's you, right? And I'm a Virgo, so it's real hard for me to admit when I'm wrong. But it is more important to me to be a better person than to be right. So even if it's a bitter pill to swallow, and sometimes it is, he also can be like, we need to have a chat. Yeah. That was a little rough for me.
I remember this one time, I was like not going off, but like I was frustrated about a situation that happened with my daughter's mother, right? And I'm not, I'm one thing that I learned from my dad, who was not the greatest person in the world, but like had certain things about him that he was really strong on. Yeah. My dad never spoke negatively about my mother in front of me or my siblings, like ever. So like I'm really focused on like never being that person, no matter how tough things ever get, right? And there was one day I was just really upset and really stressed out about something, and I'm talking about it, and I'm not like, dumping or anything of that nature, but like Nina's like, and what did you do? Right? And like
put you in check.
Yeah.
She did, but this was one of those situations where like I truly felt like I didn't do anything, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, like I'm the type of person, and we've all had conversations with me outside of this, of like, I will blame myself in every way, shape, or form to try to figure it out until I am sure that it isn't me.
Yeah.
Because I know New York, I know where I can get to if I really think you are like going out your way to hurt me.
Right.
So I try to blame myself first at all times. So this is one of those situations where I was like, nah, like I'm not tripping. Nah, man, what did you do? And she held on to that for like years. This is before we even started dating. It's like years. And it was this one day, post-pandemic, well, not post-pandemic, but mid-pandemic. I'm organizing getting my daughter to come stay with me for some time during the pandemic. And I think I was doing something, so I just had my phone on speaker. Like I just like turned my phone on speaker when my daughter's mother called. And I'm having a conversation with her, like trying to set stuff up. And they're my partners are hearing the conversation. Just looking up like, why is she mad at him? Like, he ain't do nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, y'all, like, I'm trying. Like, I promise you, I'm not perfect in any way, shape, or form. And I always need to grow. But like, I'm never going to be intentionally malicious to anyone ever. And it was in that moment that like Nina looked up and went like, oh no, you get it. You understand the conversations we've been having, and you've been learning from like your past experiences. Like you gonna figure the things out. And like similar to you, that's your moment of you knew you were gonna marry him. That was, I think, when Nina was like, nah, I can trust this man.
Yeah.
And we'll be able to figure it out in a way that works for us. Like, let's do it, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But I will say this.
Go ahead.
It gets way better.
Yeah.
Does it, bro? Like, real shit. Does it? Because,
it
like...
does. Like, yo, when my daughter turned 18, graduated, that's when the relationship with her mom got way better.
Yeah. I mean, duh, because you ain't gotta do nothing no more. That's not that's by default.
But at least that means there's a light.
Yeah.
There's a light there. Yeah.
And let me be fair. My daughter's mother is a fucking amazing person. To this, I love her.
Yeah.
And like, not romantically love. Like we good.
Yeah.
We have our like, our things that we butt on because we just like see the world differently, cultural differences, just life experience, so on and so forth. But like, that's an amazing fucking woman.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to look at 18 and graduation as a finish line.
It's not a finish line.
Yeah.
It's just the issues that come with co-parenting from a distance.
Yeah.
They subside.
Yeah. That's fair. That is very, very fair.
Because your child is now an adult.
Yeah.
Making their own decisions.
Yeah.
And you've guided them to that point where they're able to make those decisions because of that co-parenting.
Yeah.
No matter the struggle that you went through, it was worth it. And because of what you learned from your dad, not talking bad about her mom in front of her, that contributes a lot. And that's going to keep your daughter coming back to you time and time again.
One of the, and apologies if just in advance if I go off the rocker and like start having emotions and shit, because I'm about to tell a like very personal story. But one of the most impactful moments of my, I'll call it childhood because I was 19 at the time. I went to go see my dad. I hadn't seen him in 2 years at this point, because last time I saw him was when he came to visit me after my car accident happened. And 2 years later, I hadn't seen him at any point in time. No conversation, nothing since then. And I went to find him to let him know that he had a granddaughter. This is when my daughter was a couple months old. And I told him, like, chilling, we're rocking, just kind of kicking it. As usual, he's playing video games. I'm talking to him, or we played a game together. Like, we just chopping it up. And I was like, hey, man, I do got something I need to talk to you about. You got a granddaughter. His whole everything changed. And it led into us having a conversation about like what it was like being fathers at the age where, because he had me at 19, I was 18 when I had Robin, and it veered off into a conversation about him and my mother and how they met and the things he was feeling and like all the things they went through, like through their relationship up until current day. And when my dad started talking about my mom, like, it sounded like he went back in time and was there, because like the love he spoke of about my mother like sounded fresh. Like, it literally was like, oh wow, you remember them feelings. You remember like where you were, who you were at that time. And like, I had never seen my father like that. He's always been a very like hard on his sleeve type of person, but I had never seen him talk about my mom in that way. And it left such an imprint of me being like, yo, no matter what goes on, like, I'm not going to forget the person that I met.
Right.
Because we wouldn't be here if you weren't that person. So like, there's so many times where like, I go up to New York and it's like, yo, I just want to hang with you. Like, let's chill. Let's get Robin. Let's go, let's go somewhere. And it be all of us, because Robin's going to have those memories, even of us being separated, of like, yo, we can have our family dynamic together, and my parents can be cordial and be in a space for the sake of the fact that I'm going to have a memory that I won't forget. And yeah, like it changes you.
I try to remind myself that just like I was a kid that was worried that I might not be that good of a person because the people that made me are awful. And I do mean it. I like to refer to them as a match made in hell. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. They're really. I literally used to say, "You heard of a match made in heaven?" Well, my parents are literally a match made in hell.
You heard about that, right?
Wow.
Yeah,
You
not
heard
that.
about that, right? Okay. Well, my parents are the opposite of that. So, I mean, two more selfish, awful people you will never meet. It's crazy. And from family who are not perfect, but my family on both sides, they are good. In their core, good people. They're supportive people. They sacrifice for their family. And I don't just mean their kids, their nieces, their nephews. Like, that is how both sides of my family roll. So these two are just the worst of the bunch on both sides. But
the outliers.
They are. And so but you feel as a kid like that you must have something of theirs, right? And so I try to remind myself, you know what, like it doesn't matter that this other parent's not perfect, because if I communicate my frustration, he might internalize that and think that it's about him. Right. Or that it means something about him and his capacity and who he can be. And that's not true. Right. I mean, I'm literally living an example of it. And even my best friend, one of my best friends used to say, like, Tymika, if I did not know that you were not raised by your mom or dad, I would not know that, because you are she's like, you're just so like well adjusted. You're like she said, a lot of people I know, even if it's just one parent that drops out, have a lot of struggle. And in my case, I was just so fucking well supported by the rest of my family that I didn't feel like I didn't have a place to belong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that shaped my identity, even though I still had some parental stuff to work through. I never felt like I didn't have a place.
Right.
And I just feel like it's so important for step parents to remember that as a kid, you feel like you are your parent, even though you're not, right? You feel like something about you might be your parent.
Mm-hmm.
And if you degrade that parent, then you're degrading the kid.
Yourself, yeah.
Yeah, you're degrading the kid, and you can't, as a step parent, succeed if you're putting your kid in the position of feeling like they're not.
Right.
Yeah, feeling like, you know, there's a part of them that is inherently
bad.
When so much of everything is actually just about how you're raised and about how people treat you and what they make possible for you, which the parents are responsible. Like you as the person creating the environment, you're responsible for that.
But you're also creating an environment while a child is going through their stages of developing who they're going to be. So they question everything.
Yeah.
So nothing around them in their mind is secure yet.
Yeah.
So it becomes imperative on us. And you're talking about this from the space of a step parent having to undo things from the biological parent, but even us as biological parents that are present in our child's lives, like there's so much that's in question in their existence anyway.
Yeah.
And we have to be more emphatic of creating security around them to not only have those questions and like answer them themselves and become who they're going to be, but also like for them to know that like it's okay to not get everything right.
Right.
It relieves that pressure. Because I know that, like I said, that fear of me being like I'm going to lose my young adulthood, that is also coming from I was kind of losing my young adulthood as the oldest, and like having young parents who had to, well, parents ended up separating when I got to middle school, but like my mom's working all the time, so a lot of parenting in the house happened like between me and my siblings, just kind of figuring shit out.
Right.
So it became really hard to be sure of the answers of the questions that I had when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And trying to learn how to be better at that with my kids so that they can ask the questions of the world and feel comfortable asking it, learning from the mistakes and just being themselves.
And I think you hit a nail on the head there, which is about the pressure. I'm not the eldest. I'm a younger sister.
Mm-hmm.
And I also had undiagnosed ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knew except for me, so that was fun.
Sound like a blast.
Everyone knew. My parents decided I didn't need the pills. Side note, I did. So I was like dealing with a bunch of shit I did not understand, and I was always in trouble. And the one freeing thing about being a total fuck up is that you stop caring about whether people think you're a fuck up, and you don't let it guide your decision making. And in a large way, being a fuck up has freed me to be myself. Where I do feel that my elder sister felt constrained because she was like the golden child, and I was like the shitty kid. And while it was hard when I was being a shitty kid, I did get to be just myself because no one expects perfection of me. So I'm just out here, right? And it relieves a pressure for me to be the perfect kid for my parents, so I can be honest with them about stuff. Because I'm never gonna be the perfect kid. Do you know what I mean? And so it lets me like just say the stuff that get stuff off my chest. It lets me like feel free. When I failed out of school, I was like, well, now we on to the next, right? Like because I'm now we're gonna do something else, right?
Yep.
Like, and it's not that I didn't have a hard time when it happened, but it does free you up from like ever needing to feel like you need to meet people's expectations, right? And if I felt like that, I wouldn't have had that relationship. I wouldn't have married David because my grandma at first did not approve. And if I had let her, but I, for a long time, have been like, but you know what? They're not always right. They're not always right. They don't always know, and they don't always understand what's best for me. And so it gives me the courage to just move ahead when I know something is good for me, and I don't need you to be on my side, and I don't need you to think I'm right. And now, of course, David's everybody's favorite, right? Which I knew he would be, but I didn't need their approval to go forward.
Right.
And I think when you're the golden child, or you're the kid that can't mess up, it can be really hard to be yourself. Around your loved ones, or you know what I mean. There's just it's a lot of pressure. I do not envy oldest child. It's hard.
It's funny because before we even get to the whole like the inverse, like my experience is like from an outsider's perspective, it's crazy hearing you say, "Yeah, I was the fuck up kid."
I was
Right?
I was
your
the real.
Your brand of fuck up would still be golden child in my family.
I was
One.
the real. No, friends. I was Anthony. Let me tell you something. My sister was literally 4.0 student, everybody's favorite.
Right.
So when people heard they had another Lawrence coming into their class, they were like, yes. It got to the point where they're like, oh, you got Tymika, you got that Lawrence?
Wrong.
Wrong Lawrence.
That's me and my sister.
Wrong Lawrence.
Yo,
Sorry for you.
So
it's opposite for me.
boom. Elementary school, all the way through like the beginning of right before middle school. My little sister got every teacher that I had.
Yeah.
And I was pretty damn good. And like where I fucked up at, it was at least funny as hell. Like my stories of fucking up as a kid, like at that age, was funny as hell. So like by the time they heard, oh, you got a Ragler coming in? Oh, they're straight. They was like, yeah. And my sister was, nah, she went fucking left on them.
Yeah.
So then when my little brother, when Tyler started going through, they was like, fuck, which one he gonna be like?
Which Ragler
which direction he going? Because it's like, the little fork in the road. It's like he could be that one and that one, right? But it was always left on me to be the golden child. I was the book smart one. I was, I was like acing in school. I was competitive in performance and art and all that other shit. So like I had stuff that I was doing really well, but it left this pressure of like, I can't screw up.
Yeah.
And then when I screwed up, the hammer was so hard for my screw-ups from them that I rebelled because it was like, I'm not as bad as so-and-so and so-and-so.
Yeah.
And all it did was make me dodge accountability for so long that like I had to like hit my head hard on a lot of shit to get better because I was so like adamant on pushing back because I felt like the punishments that I would get and the things that would happen to me would not
fair.
Would not line up to the transgression.
Yeah.
And then becoming a parent and being a young adult out in the world, like my screw ups just got greater and greater at that time because I was so afraid to screw up and so afraid to deal with the consequences of screwing up that I would fumble over myself trying to cover shit.
Yeah.
So all that to say that like that inverse is really real.
Yeah.
And I try my best to like instill this in my daughter. My two younger kids aren't old enough to process this yet, but like instill into my daughter like, yo, speak up. Be you, be boisterous, and she's a quiet, well-mannered, talented, sweet ass child. Man.
That was me, man. My sister was she set the world on fire.
And I'm like, baby girl, like, come
she set on fire. Dropped out of high school, like hung out with a dude with a fast car. And my parents, she just put my parents through it. For real. Yep.
What's funny is Belizeans are so uptight. It's very interesting because I mean that's like the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. It's like you go to festival, you whining on everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody's doing this. This is normal. Mm-hmm. But then also they're so uptight in every other single other aspect of life. And Belizeans are so strict. Mm-hmm. And so they, in my parents' head, I was like this crazy kid. Mm-hmm. And when I say parents, I'm always referring to my grandma and my aunt because they're who raised me.
Right.
And what is interesting is because to them, me getting in trouble in school was like the worst thing that I could do. But I was like a quiet kid. I wasn't really dealing with boys. Like there's a lot of stuff
that could have happened.
But I was just like, but to them, it was like the worst because it's like, but you speak out of turn in school and the teachers say you're rude. You don't do your homework or your schoolwork. And this is the worst thing that could ever happen. And my sister, on the other hand, I mean, she is literally she was the exact opposite of that. And I remember, and as a kid, you think the golden child's a great place to be in. And it takes until you get older to be like, that is, it's also not nice for a different reason. Right. And it leaves a different impact that person then has to try and undo later. And they also did not choose that post, right? That's something that the parents put onto them. Yeah. And so it's like, it's
because you end up living your parents' life.
Yes.
What they want instead of what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not, and I remember, and I was like, you know what? Not being the golden child, I had a rough childhood, but I had a lot more freedom, like emotional freedom
to figure yourself out.
figure myself out. And it also really made me a person who would speak out about stuff that I thought was unjust. And I've always been that way. I have a really strong sense of justice. And a lot of getting in trouble was me pointing out when things were not fair or adults were being unkind and me being like, screw, if we want to get rude, we can get rude.
So that's,
If you want to get rude to her,
right.
I could be rude to you.
So that's why I said your version of I was the fuck up is like crazy to me because in my family, you wouldn't be considered that.
Right.
That being said, I do want to give a story of that whole like how the oldest child gets stopped from speaking out.
Yeah.
I remember this time, high school was going into my junior year. We went out to like some family event. We were all like at one of my aunt's houses, whatever, and some nonsense happened. So first off, with my family, my mom's an only child. Her mom is one of 9 kids, 8 women, one male. So, and he recently passed away like a couple years ago. So
sorry.
it's so much women energy in my family, right?
Yeah.
All very young. Everybody's either doesn't have kids or had kids really early. So it's a lot of women in my family.
Yeah.
All within around the same age group, regardless of generation.
Yeah.
So when shit goes bad at a family event, it goes up. So stuff went up at the family event, bad, right? Going home, mom's mad, my aunt's mad, whatever. Cool. I get in the house. It's like damn near midnight. I go in my room, turn the TV on. Not because I'm watching TV, but just to have some light on. I call my girlfriend. I'm on the phone with her chilling, right? My little brother walks in the room, looks at me, walks right back out. I'm like, all right, whatever. Back on the phone. My mom kicking the door. Anthony, get your brother a remote so he can watch TV. I'm like, yo, he didn't ask me for the remote. He can have it. I'm not watching TV. It's just for the light. Right. Oh, you want to talk back? I'm like, what the?
You're like,
I'm like, yo. So it turns to this whole thing. My mom's jumping in my face, going crazy. You want to be disrespectful in my house? You get out of my house. I'm like, you ain't said nothing but a word because, sorry, I was very respectful as a kid, but don't challenge me like that. Yeah. Get out your house, say less. I start trying to walk to the door. My mom blocks off the door. I looked at her. I'm like, that's crazy. I turn around and jump out the window of my room and just dip.
No, you did
I
not.
jumped right out the fucking window. All right, cool. It's like, bro, it's that ass like 1:32 in the morning, bro. I stay with a friend. They eventually bring him in my grandmom's crib. And I'm there in my grandmother's crib. I explain everything now. She's like, yeah, that is your mom. That sound about like how I'm like, bro, I did nothing. Like, he could have had the TV.
Right.
Didn't need to turn into all the stuff it turned into. She's like, well, you kind of just got to deal with it. It's your mother's house. Got to deal with her rules. I'm like, I didn't do nothing. Bring me back to my mom's house. Boy, I got my ass kicked when I got in the crib. There's not much talking back that happens for the next couple of years after that. Like until I am old enough to be like, I'm really going to strike it on my own.
Right.
But that's the thing that happens to the oldest where like, I didn't think that was that bad of a situation. And I've seen way worse with my younger siblings, but it then freaking like constructs you mentally. Like it changes you to be like, cool, I can't speak out.
Just leave it. Right. Everything is just leave it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So there's a lot of things where it's like, yo, I don't like this. I don't like this thing that's happening to me or to happen to someone that I love or whatever. And you kind of just learn to take it because that's what you were taught as a child.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that I'm like fighting my ass off for my daughter to not do.
Yeah.
Because I know what that feeling is like and what it ends up turning into.
Yeah.
Like,
it's too much pressure. It's too much pressure. It's too much pressure for a kid. And it just, you don't ever want to feel like, I don't ever want to feel as a parent that my kids are just doing whatever they want, doing what they think I want from them. And
my daughter's Belizean. So when she's at my mom's house,
and they're
with her mom's house, you know what it is.
They are like, it's intense.
So it's like, it's reverse engineering for her to be with me where I'm like, no, challenge me.
Yeah.
It's like, go ahead. It's okay. I want you to figure this out. Because that's gonna serve you much better as an adult. And one thing that I hold on to as a parent is my child, God willing, is gonna have more of their life knowing me with them as an adult than they were as a child. Yeah. I want whatever I do with them as a child to be able to be something that does not make them walk away from having a relationship with me as an adult when they're allowed to make their own choices.
It's very true. It's so important. It's a really big responsibility, and I just don't want my kids to feel constrained by whatever bullshit I got going on in my head, right? Like one of my favorite things about David is that, because like I said, I'm still not I will still hold myself back sometimes from doing things that I think are stretch for me, because I come up with a whole litany in my head of reasons why I can't do it and why I shouldn't do it, blah, blah. And David he just throws himself out there. He just believes that he can do it. It doesn't matter if it's hard. Doesn't matter if it usually takes people years. He's just like, I don't speak English. I'm going to get into this labor union. Can you help me with the application?
Word.
And he just is like, and the guy at the interview is asking him, do you speak English? He's like, yeah. And the guy's like, he's like, because you're going to need to take all these labor classes in English. Right. You're going to have to, you need certification and stuff. He's like, yeah, I could do it. No, he couldn't. You think he cares? Can he do it now? Yeah. Is he in the union? Yeah. And so like, even with him, I have to be like, don't let your weird shit if David thinks he could do it, he could probably do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because you would think that you can't do it, that's your business. Keep it to yourself. Don't be the person. And I don't want to be that person for my kids. You know what I mean? Because that's my weird shit that I still need to work through. But like, I want them, I'm like, if they think they can do it, then fuck, I should try and let them do it. Because what do I know? Yeah. I'm not sure. I don't know if they can do it or not. The only person who knows is them.
One thing I know, if you think you can't, well, you won't be able to.
Exactly. And that's my main remaining roadblock is that I can underplay what it is that I can't do. And my friends will be like, you can obviously fucking do this. Just try. And I'm like, no, I can't for this reason. Right. I need to set this up first. I need to do this first. I need to do this first. And I'll be like, all right, girl, talk to me in a year when you're ready. But I'm telling you now that you can. But I'm telling you now that I think you can do it. So that's the one thing where I'm like, I really don't. And I don't let David honestly taught me that, because I'm like, listen, he will literally just be like, fuck it, I'm going to go for it. And I think I can do it. And I'm going to try. And if I can't, if I don't do it, then I just don't.
Right.
Yeah. And if it doesn't happen, then it just doesn't. And it's fine.
Yeah. My mom, because my parents had me as teenagers, and like everything that they had to do to like take care of us was very like, we just have to work hard, because, we didn't finish school or any of that stuff, that like they wanted that to not be my reality. So my mom was really on me about like my grades and things of that nature. And I was the weird kid in high school that like would get a 75 in every class because homework was 25% of the grade and I wouldn't do homework.
Yeah.
I'd get 100 on every fucking test. I'd kill every project, classwork.
That was me.
No. And my logic was very simple. I'm in school all damn day. Like, I leave my house like at 5, because I went to Brooklyn Tech. I was living in South Jamaica, Queens. It was at least 90 minutes to get to school every day. Yeah. I'm like, I'm in school. I'm leaving my house at like 5, getting home at like 6 something every day.
Getting into Brooklyn Tech is not easy. It's one of the best high schools in the city of Lem.
So my thing is, if I'm spending all day here, and like I'm spending more time here than I'm spending doing anything else, including sleep, on any given day, I should not have to keep fucking working when I get home. So I'm not doing this. I will gladly do the homework in your class before it's time to hand it in, but I'm not doing it when I get home.
Right.
So that's just like me as a child, right? But because of that, anything that I did that was not straight up book smart, like academic related, was a hobby to my mother, because it wasn't going to make me money.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Music, poetry, theater, step, basketball, football, didn't matter. Hobby.
Yeah.
I remember I got like really into being on the step team in high school, and like was competing nationally, all that shit. My mom's like, that's a fucking hobby. You ain't gonna make nothing doing this. You need to focus on what you're doing for like college applications and right? Man, the car accident happens. I missed my first semester of college, right? I'm recovering from the accident, and I need to find me a job to like get me through in the meantime. One of the people that ran the like national circuit for like the high school like step competitions needed someone to be a step instructor at this middle school in the Bronx. And my first job after recovering from the accident, like literally, like I'm still traveling to the school with the neck brace on, but able to take it off when I get in the building, is teaching these little 6th to 8th graders how to step. And I'm making like, it was part-time, but I was making like 30 an hour doing this thing. And I'm like, yo, Ma, you remember when you told me this wasn't going to make no money? It's literally the only reason I'm able to make some money right now.
Listen, and people will, that's why that's exactly why you're like, don't get in your head, because you don't know everything. You don't know everything that's available. And if you're thinking that, well, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer, you need to be, a lot of other things exist. So don't be the one, because you never know where somebody's going to end up doing whatever thing that they're doing. Yeah.
And literally every job I've ever had, has been in some like niche ass industry now. Like, and I was the kid that was going to school for civil engineering and got half, like I have literally 2 full college years worth of like civil engineering credits before I graduated Brooklyn Tech.
Yeah.
And will never use them shits. Like, and I was right there. And I was going to college to be a civil engineering major. It fell off, all that. But like, it wasn't until like even with coffee, because at first it was just get a job. You need to be like handling stuff not only for your daughter, but like when I did stay back with my mom for a little bit, you need to help out here and all this other stuff, right? Coffee was a hobby to my mother until counterculture, then Salesforce. And then it was still a hobby until Liemco. And you want to know why it was a hobby until Liemco? My stepfather, the entirety of the time that I've known him, he like worked on like automated doors. Like he worked at a company where like he did automated doors for like corporate buildings, yada, 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 and got laid off. And through my relationships, before I even started working at Liemco, I was able to connect him with that team. And he's been working there for like the past 4.5 years now.
Oh, right on.
And it was my mom seeing, yo, you just helped this grown ass man get his new job. Oh, maybe what you're doing is real. And I'm like, all that time you was shitting on me, telling me it was a hobby, it came back to help, didn't it?
Listen, I'm surprised. I think my family was just so damn happy that I had a job. and that I seemed to be doing okay. That they were like, coffee?
Cool, something.
We don't know what you're doing. We don't know if you're bathing it. We don't know what you're doing. But we know that you are going there 40 hours a week. We know you got dental insurance and they are paying you. But I know even now, they don't really understand. They don't really understand what's going on. And especially because it's not even like I can point to like a building or whatever. You know what I mean? So they're like, we don't understand.
You working from home?
Yeah. Listen,
like no,
the company's on the West
sense.
Coast. Yeah, you still in New York.
I remember one of my family members. My cousin was telling me that my cousin was like, "Yo, they're like, I wonder if Tymika's okay or whatever, blah blah." and my cousin was like, "Tymika's straight. Y'all don't worry about yourselves, okay? Because Tymika is doing good." Like they were like, "I wonder if Tymika's okay because but that's my family, right? You know, I never finished my degree." And so of course to them that means that my whatever for me is limited. My wherever I can end up is limited. And while that is technically true, right? That is technically true. Absolutely. I won't deny it's not specifically true in my case.
Right.
So they're in their head, they're like, oh, she must be, and especially because they, some of them work for the city and the city is very regimented that way. And so they're like, well, obviously this must mean you're in, and I'm like, y'all, I'm in the private sector. It's different. Don't assume that don't assume you know what's going on over here.
I mean, being in New York, like when you have those families that's their thing, like they will tell you like, go get a city job. Like that's their golden snitch of careers. Like go work for transit, go work for like freaking NYPD or like something like that, because that's a secure job. That's something that you'll get a pension and they will
and admittedly
ram it down your throat.
My family are highly qualified. So the people who do work for the city, they're high up there. Yeah. Like so them in their mind, they're like, this is what you need to do to succeed. And if I had been limited, or if I had actually believed that not having a degree could fuck me real time, then it would have. And I do believe that it does now, especially with like where they'll just automatically filter out people who don't have degrees in certain industries. So I 100% admit that is a thing. But if I had dwelled on it, it also would have held me back. But that's also what I love about hospitality and food. Right. Nobody gives a fuck what school you went to. Right. If you can't do the job, you can't do it. And if you can do the job, great. And if you can prove to me that you can do the job well enough to get a promotion, then you're gonna get it. Like right. So it doesn't. I like that it's like it's about capability and capacity, and I might. In most of my career, it's true, I might be the only person who works at a place without a degree, but it's never come up. Right. It's not, it's not limited my earning capacity in any way that is significant. And maybe if one day I work in another industry, It will, but the benefit about having experience, especially in sales,
the paper trail of
there,
what you've done.
yeah, you know what I mean. So it's like people will say, "Oh, a college degree or
blank years of
equivalent
experience." Exactly.
Yeah. So it's like I kind of like that. It was like that. It's you can't take that time. You can't take that
what I've
away
done
from
away
me.
from
What
me.
you can't take what I've done away from me, whether I have the degree or not.
Yep.
And I'm glad that it's not. I mean, one day. Okay, this is actually something that not many people in coffee know. One day I am going to be a lawyer because I would be a good lawyer and I would really enjoy that. And I might do it when I'm like 50.
But
I'm not kidding.
you're gonna do it 'cause
I
it's
might
for
go
you.
to law school when I'm like 50.
Right, but it's for you.
But I would, and it's a job that I would enjoy enough.
That was the track
Yeah.
my parents wanted for me.
Yeah.
It was like, you're going to college, you're going to be a lawyer like your uncle, no excuses, blah, blah, blah.
And you said,
I said, okay.
Yeah.
So I went to college. I even got an internship for a summer as a paralegal.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, this shit
nah, I'm good.
is not me.
Not for you. Yeah.
And
And then I hit that wall of like, okay, my whole life has been training for this,
Yeah.
and I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Now
now
what?
what?
Now what?
Yeah.
And it's crazy because you tell the story of like your professor walking in and going, "This is what you're doing with your degree."
Yeah.
As a person that had to go bust his ass and work with no degree, similar to your story, but without the child at the time.
Yeah.
I had so many coworkers that were college graduates, and I'm like, I ain't got no degree. You in here next to me.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean-
you hated what you did, and you followed that route, and are now here because you don't want to do that shit no
Yeah.
more. And like, it's wild because now I sit back and I'm like, no, I knew then that not having a degree was going to hamper me from opportunities.
Yeah.
But I at least went and did things my way.
Right.
And that's why I was able to get to the point that I got to, because anytime a test would come out, train conductor, bus operator, even the like,
They'll be sending
engine-
it to you.
Yo, my
Yeah,
mom,
yeah, yeah.
yo, my
I'm
mom
sure.
used to
'Cause-
flood
and the
the
MTA
absolute
and the MTA and the MTA workers are the most. They're the most. Okay,
Uh-huh.
because they're the most pushing that
Yep.
in your
they
in
throw
your
it to you like,
face.
yo, it's good money, brother. Like, you got to do it. And like I remember my mom when she was taking all the tests, postal worker, MTA, like all the things, right? Emergency dispatcher, all that junk, right? And I was just like, nah, I'm not. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna be happy. And a generation before us, happy at my job did not fucking
Didn't
matter.
matter.
That
Yeah,
is
it
not
didn't matter at all.
that is
Yeah, it
not
wasn't a
a
thing.
priority. It
Yeah.
is, will it make money? And I went,
Yeah.
yo, bro, like, I'm not gonna make money if I'm not good at the thing that I'm doing, and I'm not gonna be good if I don't care.
If I want to be miserable,
You know?
yeah,
And like,
yeah.
to be
You gotta
totally
have that passion. You
right,
gotta have a
and to
passion
be
for what
totally
you're doing.
transparent, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like coffee has been my passion this entire time. But
Right.
the work and the impact that I've been able to cause within it has been. So it's
Yeah.
like, if I can't find something to attach to and gravitate to, I'm not gonna be good at it.
Yeah.
And I took my time and I found that niche. I found that avenue for myself. And that's the thing that I ultimately want my children and the people that I end up mentoring and all that to be able to find for themselves. Because there is no cookie cutter, one size fits all. This is success for anyone.
Yeah. What's interesting is I knew from young that I wanted to be a lawyer. I was like really clear. It was one of the I was like, I either want to be a lawyer or a chef. And I knew that, but if you have fucking undiagnosed ADHD and no one tells you, you're not going to have a nice time in college when you graduate high school at 16 and you're not prepared. And I was in a school where I had 106 people in my graduating class, and I went to a university that had like fucking 20,000 students, right? Like, I needed a different kind of environment. I needed Adderall. And so now I'm like, when my parents ask me, when they're like, what about school? I'm like, if you wanted me to finish school, you should have let the lady give me the blue pills. You didn't. So now we're here. And I remember on my way out the door, I was in this thing called transitional living in my boarding school. So we were the first to have more freedom because they realized that we were it's very interesting. I went to this school called Milton Hershey School. When I went there, the trust that the man, Milton S. Hershey, who founded the Hershey company, Hershey Chocolate, he had left the trust for the school to continue. And when I was at the school, the trust was valued at $8 billion.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine, I had all kind of experiences at the school, and money would never be a barrier to a kind of experience, right?
School, right.
And so I but they also realized like we were so privileged in that bubble, even if we weren't at home, and so coddled in that bubble that when we were going to school, university, people were not succeeding because they had not had enough real life experience, and everything was like rolled out for us on a red carpet, and then you have to handle stuff that's being handled from you for this whole time, right? And so they started finally this thing called transitional living, and I was like a part of the pilot program where you move out and you have more freedom. And the lady, God bless her, when I was packing up my room to leave, she was like, Tymika, what do you know about ADHD? Because she knew. It was on my record. It was on my chart. I had been diagnosed for how many years? I don't know. Every fucking body knew that I had ADHD.
Except you.
But they needed my parents' permission. And I was not old enough. I'm graduating high school at 16. I think now in Pennsylvania at 12, you can decide to take medicine if your parents don't agree. But at the time, it was not like that. I needed to be older, and I wasn't. So it wasn't a choice that they could bring to me directly. And so she was like, what do you know about ADHD? I was like, not very much. She was like, I think you should look into
Just research.
Homegirl was trying to help me. She was like, and of course I didn't, because there was a lot going on. But when I finally got diagnosed in like my mid-20s, I was like, okay. So what happened was my friend had an Adderall, and I was like, I'm going to take this. He was like, okay. Y'all, I did my back taxes for like 3 years.
That's the most productive person on earth.
I was like responding to all my emails, and I was like, wait a motherfucking minute. And the last thing I did before the Adderall wore off was find a doctor.
Wow.
To diagnose me, because I was like, this is what the rest of y'all are living like this? Is like this in the rest of your heads? What? It was so quiet and so clear. I was like, everyone else is living like this? It was like when I put on glasses for the first time when I was like 10.
Yo.
Because I needed glasses. I was on top of the TV and all that. They did me the eye exam. They're like, girl, you need glasses. I put on glasses. I was like, you guys have been seeing colors like this the whole time.
What y'all seeing?
You guys have been seeing colors like this the whole time?
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And I went in there and she did the whole thing. But she was like, why are you here today? I was like, I'm going to be very honest with you. I took an Adderall of my friends. And this is the experience that I had. And so then she did the whole thing. And she was like, listen, you definitely have ADHD. She's like, but I knew that from the first thing you said, because actually a lot of women specifically with ADHD come into my office because they've had this experience. Because no one has ever diagnosed them. And in my case, I was lucky in that I did get a diagnosis, because a lot of women just don't get diagnosed as kids even, right? Like there were actually people who were looking into it. And at the time I thought that I had not been diagnosed and that I was being like profiled as a woman, because that happens, or like racially profiled, right? Like you're just a bad kid.
Right.
And that does happen to Black kids all the time, right? Yep. Instead of thinking like, oh, they're struggling with something, what could that be? It's like, this is just a bad kid. And in my case, I felt that had happened until I explained to my parents that I had been diagnosed, because my parents hadn't also noticed a difference. So we're talking and they're like, oh, you're so on top of stuff and you're keeping really good communication with us, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, right. You've noticed that, right? And they're like, yeah. And she was like, see, I knew you never. And I didn't even bring up the appointment. She just said herself, see, I knew you never needed those pills. And I was like, you know what? It's funny.
Newsflash, buddy.
Newsflash, friend. The new and improved Tymika, she's on the pills. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah, I did. I was like, yeah, I definitely needed those. You could have helped me a long ass time ago. So thanks for that. And up until that point, I didn't even know that they had been told, right? Because that's a lot for Black neurodivergent people. That's experience. That's an experience. So many, you get a diagnosis as an adult, and your parents they're like, yeah, they mentioned that, but I just felt like you had to work harder.
And you're like, what?
Like, what do you mean?
Yo,
wild shit.
Damn.
Very wild shit.
Nah, man. It's interesting because like my wife's family, she has a brother and a sibling that are both on the autism spectrum, and because of that, we've known for a while to look for those signs in our child, and we kind of see that already with our 2-year-old, and like it's led to her having so much patience and so much understanding to like not only like be better than like how her parents and step parents and whatnot, well, not step parents, but her half siblings mother were with their sons, but also like allowing me and Nina, who come from very traditional like Southern Black American and Caribbean families that didn't pay attention to mental health and didn't pay attention to like the signs that their kids may need that type of assistance, and helped us kind of be able to undo that damage so that we can be better as parents, you know? Like, and that's kind of the thing that all of this like circles back to, of like, we're trying to not be our parents' mistakes. We're trying to not be our, the generation before us mistakes, but it leads us to making our own brand.
You can do your own.
We make our own special fuck ups.
But then that's the cool thing, because your kids, as they get older, hopefully they'll take a page from that book and
do better than you.
Absolutely.
And I just think like you can't overvalue. It's impossible to overvalue having that emotional intelligence as a parent, and then giving that as a skill, because it's not viewed as a skill set. And like a lot of times, and it's something I've brought up at companies before. I'm like, you know what? Like we need to evaluate how do we value skill sets, right? Because I can take an Excel course and get good in Excel. My knowledge of people, you can't get that in a year. You can't get that in 2. You can't get it in 3. That is a soft skill set that actually is way harder to acquire than a technical skill set. But it is a skill set. Like it's not, you don't just have it. You have to get emotional regulation, and then you have to teach it to your kids, because they're not just going to get it either.
That's so like when you were talking about that transitional program that you had in your boarding school. So there was a very large period of time where I was working in retail, whether it be, you know, clothing or like coffee or restaurants, and teaching at the same time. And I taught it because I don't have a degree. I didn't have like the formal ability to like teach in like public schools. I taught it exclusively charter schools. Like charter school programs that would find ways to count me accredited enough to be a teacher. And I walked away from every one of those programs and understanding what I went through as a public school student, going, if there's one thing that needs to be like instilled in grade school, is every child in the world should have a class that is them working retail jobs. Like literally learning how to interact with people, learn how to talk to people, learn how to deal with people that are having bad days, learn how to be public facing when you're having a bad day, like have those skills exercised and worked on. Because there are so many people in the world that just don't know how to be like human in front of someone.
They've never worked in the service industry. The service industry will teach you
in a hot second. It's true. It's true. In a second. And that's why I'm like, I think one of the greatest things that I feel like a lot of us are really trying harder is that because I'm like, you know how powerful I could have been as a kid if I understood what I was dealing with and understood how it was going to impact my emotions, because ADHD has an emotional component that the US is so focused on earning and doing stuff and being effective that almost all of the language around ADHD is about how can you do more stuff? How can you do your homework? How can you do, but ADHD has a whole entire other effect on you emotionally as a person, how you take things, how you hear things, all of it. And people don't know that. And most people with ADHD don't know that, because people do not tell you that, because what is important is that you can do stuff and be efficient. And I'm like, fuck, if I knew as a kid, a lot of the stuff I struggled with, if I understood why I was having this reaction, it could have been way different. I could have had a different relationship to regulating emotionally, to understanding when I was over the line. Like there's all of these things. And while that was specific to my ADHD, it's not specific as far as like, you need to give kids the skill sets to exist in the world and not be consumed by it. And that's all emotional intelligence. And when you give that to a kid, they get to retain who they are at their core and disengage from something when it's not working for them.
Yeah.
And that gives them the power, and people can't take that from them. And I had to get that in therapy as an adult. So my goal is that the kids can get it from me
at least for free,
right?
At least for free. Like they may not process all of it.
They might need to go to therapy for other reasons. Hopefully not, but
Yeah.
Our coworker Jake said one of the most profound things to me around the time that, remember when all of us at Black and White had children in like a 12-month time span. I remember this one day he was talking about the only time he had ever raised his voice at his daughter, and it was like to get her from like running into the street in traffic. And it was just like, the one thing I think about is like 20 years from now, if that's the incident that my daughter is unpacking in therapy, that I yelled one time to keep her from getting hit by a car, I've done my job.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And that has like really impacted the way that I view parenting and how I maneuver with my children for the long. So like, what things will they have to unpack later that I'm just okay with living with?
Right.
Because I know the conversations that I've had, and unfortunately my father was taken away from me 2 years ago. So there's conversations with him that I'll never get to have. But like, I know that I've had some of them conversations with my mother, part of it being sparked by my dad's untimely passing, of like, here's things that I wish would have been really different. And like, here's how those things impacted me. And I just want to be able to live with those conversations when it's time to have them with my children. When they come to me and go, here's where you fucked up.
Yeah.
I want those fuck ups to be like, here's where you fucked up, but I understand that you always were doing things out of love and out of trying to empower us to be the best versions of ourselves. Not on some like, oh, here's how you hurt me and you were just so blind to your actions,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it might happen. Some of that might happen anyway. I think where parents really fuck up is that kids want to have a good relationship with you. So if someone is coming to you and saying, you did this and it hurt me, and I've said this in reference to racism, in reference to patriarchy, if someone is coming to you and they're telling you you've done this thing in this way that's shaped by this system that has hurt me specifically, it's because they think enough of you, or the relationship is important enough that they are trying to save it. Someone is giving you when someone comes to you with that kind of criticism, they're giving you a chance to make a different choice and to be a different person because they care about you. If I don't care about you, I'm just gonna let you fuck off. I don't care.
Yeah.
So if me as a kid, if I'm bringing something to you, it's because this is an important relationship to me and it's because I want it to be better. And if parents could just sit with the discomfort of what they did, they wouldn't lose that link. And so many parents, their kids don't walk away from them because they weren't perfect, because nobody is more primed to love you than a kid. No one wants to love you more than a kid. No one wants to be loved by you more than your kid. That just is how it is. So it's like, this person is primed to forgive you for stuff that they wouldn't let anybody else do. But they just need you to hear it.
Yep. You've closed that door because of something you've done.
Yes.
And here's this kid coming to you, opening that door and saying, hey, this is what happened.
Yes.
I'm going to leave this door open for you to step through and acknowledge that shit.
Yes, because I want you to be here.
Yeah.
Because if I don't want you to be here, I'm just going to drop off.
We're going to leave that door closed.
Yeah.
We're going to let that bridge burn the fuck up.
And instead of seeing it for the chance that it is, so many parents see it as an attack. It's this, it's that. And it's like someone is just communicating their experience to you. And if you could just fucking hold on and listen and let go of, because no one's even saying that you didn't try your best.
Mm-hmm.
But some of y'all are not trying your best. And this kid is willing to accept you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
They just need you to hear it. And so I think about that all the time as a especially now as a step parent, because I feel like step parents have a special capacity to provide a different kind of relationship to a kid. But I also think they have a special capacity to harm kids and their relationships to their parents and the rest of their families, and to make them feel left out. And I don't doubt that sometimes I might run into that as a step parent. And I hope that when he recognizes the thing that made him feel that way, that I'm fucking responsible enough to be like, I hear you and I'm sorry. Yeah. And it doesn't matter that I wasn't trying to do that, because I did. It doesn't matter that I wasn't trying to do that, because I did do it. And it left you feeling a way that I do not want. And I'm responsible for that. And I just really hope that, no, I'm not. I'm committing, actually. Fuck hoping. I'm not hoping for it. I'm committing myself to taking it like that. And to being responsible to both of my kids, to being responsible for my actions to both of my kids. Yeah. Because I'm the adult.
I ain't got nothing else to say. Oh, wow.
We got deep.
Yeah.
We did. Wait, really listen. Okay, so I'm going to take it back to our last episode. When people want to know how I get to do, I always go deep. I don't do shallow. Yeah. And I just, shout out to therapy. Yeah. I don't do shallow. And that is why I have so many relationships with so many different kinds of people, because I just find so much enjoyment in like getting to the heart of the thing. Yeah.
And then, but the thing is, you get there and you do it so often and so consistently that you forget sometimes that you're doing it.
That's true.
Because I personally don't feel like you should have had any type of shocked reaction to what Lem and I was saying on that episode at all, because you were there for every single experience we were talking about.
Yeah. Thank you.
You were there, and it takes a very special kind of person to be willing to be that forthcoming and that open. It's kind of part of the thing that like made my time as a artist really impactful, because I was in a space of a bunch of people that just bled out, a bunch of people that just kind of let that like live. And there comes some like caveats with it. Like there are people that believe they know you because they've seen what you've written or said on stage or whatever. Like they got to meet one aspect of you and have turned that to your entire character. But you live in this space where like people are constantly walking around with these open wounds, and not just like the negative wounds, but like literally just like these open parts of themselves that they're workshopping and living through. And you don't really get many times to like close the circuit, close the wound. It is a honor to be able to be in a space like this where we get an opportunity to close that, like, we just got out of a world where we didn't know if or when we'd ever interact with certain people in our lives again.
Yeah.
And we all have had life experiences and context that color so much. The conversation you and I had last night colored so many experiences that were going on with us while we knew each other.
Right.
But
we're in separate places. Yeah.
Separate places within the world.
Yeah.
And to come back and to sit here today and like, there are so many things that you said here that like full transparency, like I needed. That like ain't got shit to do with coffee, ain't got shit to do with this podcast. Just we gonna talk when these fucking cameras are off, more specifically. But like you just never know what someone's journey is. You never know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And like, man, the more that we can be that for people, like the Nigel episode where he's talking about like being in a cubicle and like the person working next to him was like, hey, how was your weekend? And he goes off into this tangent, and that person really wasn't trying to hear a lot. They was expecting the like superficial. It was good, and like if we stop for a second, took a little bit more time out of our days to be more like honest and present for that. Like, how are you? And what are you going through? Like, how many more of us could like find out about that diagnosis sooner? Or
or only ask if you give a fuck, right?
Yeah. Right.
You don't even have to, if you don't give a fuck, just don't ask.
Right.
Hey, good to see you.
Right.
Like, I think people are so committed to like doing the societal dance, like doing the dance, that it's like, you don't have to do the dance only if you want to. But if you're going to do it,
do it.
Show up. If you're going to do it, be present.
Mean it.
If you're gonna do it, be ready for a real ass answer from Nigel.
Yeah,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
Like, don't be like, oh, okay, thanks for whatever, because nobody made you ask that question. And participating in a conversation, I don't know. I just think like you only got one life, and you have to live it with people who are around you. And what is even the point of doing any of this shit if any of it's artifice? Why even do it? You only have one life to be yourself. And no one is saying that you have to show everybody every single piece of yourself. But I'll say this, if you can release shame about shit, like you can't say shit to me. You can't say shit to me about having failed out of school. You can't say shit to me about having ADHD. There's nothing that I have not gone through that you can shame me, or that I have gone through that you can shame me about, because I'm not ashamed of anything. Like my parents suck. And I say that because I am not them. I'm not my mom. I'm not my dad. I'm not ashamed of the shit they did because I didn't do it. I only have to be ashamed of the shit that I do. And that I don't take accountability for.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so for me, it was so, because I used to be kind of cagey about my parents. And it's so freeing to me to just say things as they are. Like, I don't have to be ashamed of anything that anybody else has done or not done, because I'm not responsible for it. I'm only responsible for me. That's it. And my kids, obviously, but caveat. Now, and my kids, I'm definitely responsible for my kids. But you know what I mean?
Until you're not, though.
And exactly. And one day they'll be responsible for themselves, and I can only hope to be a sounding board
and
for
hopefully
them.
they'll be responsible.
They
for
will
you.
be.
I hope so, right?
They will be.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I am, in as much as, I will tease my aunt and grandma and criticize stuff. There are so many of the things about me that are really good, right? That are them, 100%. They don't always know what to say,
Right.
but they know how to show up, and they know how to give people material support. So like, they are present. If somebody passes away, they're present. If you're going through a rough time, they're visiting. If they know you don't have somebody, they'll keep up with you. If I lost in my apartment today, I could move into my studio with my whole ass in a studio apartment with my whole ass family, with my aunt, because that's how they are. And so a lot of the things that people really respond to in me as a person it's a direct through line to my parents, because they fucking know how to show up for people. I mean, put it this way. A lot of people in my situation who both their mom and dad suck end up fucked over. They don't have anybody who's going to step in for them or look out for them. And I'm just, taking care of me and my sister is just like one thing of many that is just them.
Right.
And there was never a question of like, is anybody going to help them? It was very clear, like, well,
It's us.
obviously
We got it. Duh,
it's
let's go.
us. Yeah. We're obviously going to do it. Right. And for my whole life, I have had really deep, rich friendships with people. And it's because they have shown me how to be a friend and how to show up for somebody. And it's the thing I'm most grateful for, because my life is really rich and full of of people that I love, you two included, and who just look out for me and who care about me in a real way. And it's because of that person that they made me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I am, as much as I tease them about other stuff, the best parts of me are also my parents. And I hope that, my kids will be able to say the same. Like, my mom was not perfect, but there's some stuff that I got from her that I'm proud of. And I feel like as a parent, I really hope that my kids feel that way in the future.
They will, because you showed up for me.
Thank you.
I will say that.
Thank you.
Do you know what happened in 2016?
Yo, that was
First of all, I want to tell you about the Hennessy moment in Atlanta.
Oh, in Atlanta.
Oh,
I know.
God.
There was a Hennessy moment in Atlanta. The Hennessy moment came from Kansas, when there were so many black competitors.
Yeah.
Not Nashville.
Nashville.
Wait, you had a
do
Hennessy moment in Atlanta after?
No, before.
Oh, before. Okay,
Before.
cool. Yeah. All right, cool.
But it was only 2 black people.
Oh, okay. Bad.
I just won.
Uh-huh.
They just announced the winner,
Yeah.
gave me the trophy,
Uh-huh.
and the loudest person that I heard was Tymika.
I was going off.
Hell
I was
yeah.
going off.
Hell yeah.
I was
So
going
I
off.
actually found the video
No.
of that award ceremony.
Yeah.
and they panned to the audience.
Yeah.
And there you were screaming.
Oh my God.
And they panned back, and I pointed at I held the trophy and I pointed at you.
I remember.
That was the Hennessy moment.
Okay.
Oh my
Later that
God.
night,
That was the Hennessy moment. All right.
later that night,
Oh my
things got a
God.
little out of
I
hand.
already told you
At the
can't-
party.
I can't win USBC, especially not in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Because I will be the last black US Barista champion. They will not let me one. If I would have won in Atlanta, I promise you, they're not letting any of us back in.
We had,
It's over.
we had a time.
Yeah,
we had,
over.
we had
it
a
almost got
time.
to that point, but
We had a time.
Tymika, she got me to the hotel. I don't know how.
It was me and Kaylee.
Yeah,
It was me and Kaylee. Yeah.
yeah, because it was like drink after people just handing.
I mean, because he's winning, right?
Yeah.
Like you win,
They
and,
just gave me
and every
drink after
people just
drink.
buying him drinks like crazy.
And I felt fine because I was dancing.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the dancing stopped, it was like, yo, let's go to another club.
Yeah.
And I'm in the car, and that's when things just
Hey,
went.
man.
Yes.
went
And me
wrong.
and Kaylee are like, he can't go to another club.
Hey yo, off
Me and
camera.
Kaylee were like,
Yeah.
he not
Remind
making
me
it to another club. So it was so funny because the kids are in the room.
Uh-huh.
Sarah's there, the kids are in the room, and we know that the kids are in the room. So we're not trying to bang down the door. So we're like, we're outside and we're like, because we ain't trying to wake up nobody's baby. I did not have kids, but I at least knew that. So I'm like,
Yeah.
Sarah. Sarah. she opens the door and she's like, and I love Sarah. She just it. And she sees Lem and she's just like, I'm glad he enjoyed himself. Just like that. First thing she said, I'm glad he deserved himself, which he deserved it, which he did. So she's like, I'm so glad he enjoyed himself. And then she was like, thank you for bringing him home. We were like, you got it. And then me and Kaylee were out. We went to the next party. And we went to the next party. Oh my God, we had a time. It was so fun.
Oh, that was wild.
Remind me to tell you my bachelor party story when
Word.
we are off camera.
Okay.
Because you gonna love that one.
Yeah.
But real talk, like that type of moment, like first black person to ever win this shit.
Yeah. I was screaming like a
my God.
banshee.
Yeah.
I'd have been second,
It was so fun.
bro. Y'all wouldn't. Closest I got was Costa Mesa because I made finals.
Yeah, yeah.
Y'all was not prepared for what would it the. All right, you know what? I kept saying I wasn't gonna say this word on camera.
I
The
knew you were
level of
gonna say it.
niggatry.
I knew. I was
that
waiting. I
finna
was waiting.
happen.
I was
If
waiting.
I don't want with that year of all years,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
I was waiting. I was waiting.
I
For you.
was
waiting.
so bro. When so Nina came with us to it. We stayed at the black and white Airbnb. Nina we weren't even like dating at the time, but we kind of all knew it was headed that
Yeah,
direction.
you
Yeah.
introduced her to me as my friend.
Yeah. I mean, at that
my
point,
special friend.
no, at
my
that point-
friend's
at that
coming.
point, yeah. But like, when I tell you, it was like to have everybody there,
Yeah.
like, and we seen how close I was,
Yeah.
bro. I promise you, they would have that Hennessy moment. Never again. Never again. They'd have been like, all right, it's enough.
Pack
No
it
more,
on
y'all.
up.
Y'all, all right, y'all done did enough.
Pack it
Go
on
home.
up.
See, that's why we don't let y'all in the damn expo because y'all keep acting like it'd have been one of those.
We had a
Boy.
time. We had a time. It was so fun, and I was so proud of Lem. I always remember that.
But yeah, it just goes to show the type of person you are. To show up.
Real one.
Yeah, real one, for real. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, man. I'm sure y'all hungry.
Yeah.
I'm hungry. I know you hungry. Yo, you done sat through 3 hours of us
Andrew,
talking.
you are the
You a real one.
You're the goat.
He usually
Andrew.
got the mic. He usually got the mic.
Andrew
Yeah,
the goat,
yeah,
because I know
yeah.
he's like these.
Yeah, we got to
mother-
get that fourth mic.
Yeah, we do because it's gonna be fun. But seriously, Tymika, yo, thank you for agreeing to come out here.
for
Oh,
real.
thank you for having. I mean, this is such a treat. It's such a treat for me to be down here. It's such a treat for me to record with y'all. And it was I was like, y'all gonna fly me out? Because when y'all asked me to do the podcast, I was like, yeah, I'll record. I'll go get my little mic.
You're like, no,
And they were like, no, I was like, wait, what? Y'all fly
Yeah,
me
come
down
on.
here to a podcast? So it's an honor for me. It's a treat. It is a joy to see y'all and to get to spend time with y'all after so much time being away in New York and like the pandemic and like because not getting to see y'all, because it was like I would see y'all at least every 3 months, even if it was just a quick high and by, right? With all the
Well, ours was weird because it wasn't that. Like after I left New York.
That's true.
We next time we ran into each other was Coffee Champs in New Orleans.
Yes, that's
And
true.
I
But
saw
by
you-
then
yeah.
I was with Atlas.
Right.
So in between, I would sometimes go to things and then not. But with Atlas, we were at, we were literally at everything.
And I wasn't.
Yeah,
like that was the
yeah.
first thing I went to
Yeah.
as a on a national scale. It was the first thing I went to.
Yeah.
And I only stayed there for like 7-8 seconds because I showed up for my coworker Diane's competition routine, my coworker Franklin's competition routine, and that was it.
Yeah.
Because, like, yes, I was out there to do some work and I met some people outside of there. But I was in New
were in
Orleans
New
for
Orleans.
I was in New Orleans for Mardi Gras
Yeah,
and the
you were in
weekend
New
of the
Orleans.
Super Bowl. I was outside.
Yeah.
But the one person that I got to kick it with and connect with for a little bit that wasn't one of my coworkers was you. And I didn't go to another national coffee thing until Nashville. Well, I think I did Coffee Fest for Counterculture or something. But like for real, like being it was Nashville when I did the year that I almost went overtime in Nashville.
Yep.
My first, like, you've been a connector all the way until I finally got my footing in this. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you.
Word.
All right, y'all. Ready to roll up out of here?
We
Yeah.
did it.
You want to sign us off, big dog?
Yeah. Yo, thanks for tuning in with 95 Plus Podcast. Our guest, Tymika Lawrence.
The GOAT.
My homie,
Oh, man.
Anthony Ragler, and me, your boy, Lynn Butler. And Wags. We got Wags on the scene. We'll get him a mic next time.
Yo, we got to get like a Wags cam so
Yeah,
that like
Wags
anytime
cam.
like something funny happens to him, like we could just pan it on the videos. You'd be like, see?
Well, until next time, thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Two times.